Hello and welcome. Today we are diving into one of the most important topics in AI governance, human oversight. Now, this isn't about hitting the brakes on AI. It's about making sure that we, as humans, stay in the driver's seat for the decisions that really matter. So let's get right into it.
I want you to think about it like this. You know how an airline pilot uses autopilot for most of a flight? They trust the system, but they are always there, hands ready, prepared to take manual control for a landing or if anything unexpected happens. So the real question for your business is this. When your AI is flying the plane, is there a qualified pilot in the cockpit ready to step in, or is it flying completely on its own?
And that really gets to the heart of the matter. On one hand, you have meaningful oversight. This is about real control. On the other hand, you have simple rubber stamping, which is basically just compliance theater. It looks like you have control, but you really don't. Our goal here is to make sure your processes are genuinely meaningful, not just for show.
So why is this so critical? Well, because the risk of getting this wrong is absolutely real. We're talking about massive accountability gaps if an AI decision causes harm. We're talking about operational failures that could grind your business to a halt. And, as we'll touch on later, we are talking about some very significant regulatory fines. This is not some academic debate. This is about protecting your organization, period.
So how do we actually build that real control? We start with a toolkit. And the most important thing to know is that not all AI decisions are the same, right? So your oversight can't be a one-size-fits-all solution. Luckily, we have 4 distinct models we can pull from.
Okay, so here's the big picture. This table is kind of like your cheat sheet. It maps out all 4 of our options, from the most hands-on model, human in the loop, all the way to a more periodic checkup with Human-as-Validator. Think of this as your guide for matching the right level of control to the right situation. Now, let's break down what each of these actually means.
First up, we have Human in the Loop, or HITL. This is your maximum security setting. The AI can make a recommendation, but a human has to sign off on it before anything actually happens. You use this for the really big stuff, those high-stakes, irreversible decisions, like approving a major loan or confirming a medical diagnosis. Places where the cost of a mistake is just way too high to leave it all to a machine.
Next, we've got Human on the Loop, or HOTL. Now, this one is all about finding that sweet spot between efficiency and control. The AI is making decisions on its own, but you have humans actively monitoring, ready to jump in and handle exceptions. A perfect example is a fraud detection system that flags suspicious transactions and sends the really tricky ones to a human review queue.
Then there's Human in Command. With this model, the oversight is more strategic. Humans aren't looking at every single decision. Instead, they're setting the rules of the road. They define the policies and the boundaries that the AI has to operate within. This is absolutely perfect for high-volume, lower-risk stuff like dynamic pricing, where you want the AI to adjust prices, but only within a range that a human has already approved.
And our last model is Human-as-Validator. You can think of these folks as your quality assurance team. They aren't in the real-time decision loop at all. Instead, they come in after the fact to sample and audit what the AI has been doing. This is so important for catching things like model drift or systemic bias over time. It's a critical safety check, but it's not a real-time intervention.
Okay, so we've got our 4 models. The obvious next question is, how on earth do you choose the right one for your specific AI system? And this is so important. This isn't just a tech decision. It's a strategic business decision that is all about risk. The whole strategy is to match the level of human control to the specific risk of the decision being automated.
So how do you make that choice? Well, it all comes down to a really practical risk assessment. You have to look at each AI application and ask 4 key questions. First, reversibility. How easy is it to undo a mistake? Second, impact magnitude. What's the absolute worst that could happen if the AI gets it wrong? Third, time sensitivity. Does this decision have to happen in milliseconds, or can we take a moment? And finally, of course, what do the regulations like the EU AI Act require us to do?
And this quote just nails the #1 mistake you have to avoid. A one-size-fits-all approach is a recipe for disaster. If you use your tightest level of control on everything, you're just going to create bottlenecks and kill your efficiency. But if you use your loosest level on everything, you're leaving your company wide open to huge risks. You have to differentiate. It's essential.
Now, knowing which model to use is one thing, but actually putting it into practice effectively, that's a whole other ballgame. This is where we separate the real, meaningful oversight from that performative compliance theater.
and the difference is all in the details of your execution.
So how do you avoid that rubber stamping trap we talked about? It really starts with a manageable volume of work. I mean, think about it. If you ask one person to review 500 complex decisions in a day, that's not oversight. That's just a clicking exercise. A fantastic rule of thumb is to cap these complex reviews at around 50 per person per day. That gives your team the mental space to actually think, not just click approve.
And that idea of a manageable workload is really just one piece of the puzzle. For oversight to be truly meaningful, you have to have all four of these things in place. Your team needs a reasonable workload, sure, but they also need clear information, not just the AI's final answer, but the why behind it. They need actual time set aside to do the review. And they have to have true accountability, knowing that they are ultimately responsible for the call. If you're missing even one of these, the whole system starts to fall apart.
One of the most powerful things you can do here is to automate the escalation process. Don't leave it up to chance. You can build in triggers just like in this example. When the AI's confidence in a prediction drops below a certain level, let's say 85%, the system should automatically kick it over to a human for review. This makes oversight a systematic part of the process, not something that's just left up to discretion.
All right, we've talked about the models, the strategy, and the nitty-gritty of execution. Now, let's pull it all together into a clear, actionable plan that you can actually use to get this done in your organization. So it all comes together in this 5-step plan. You start by classifying all your AI decisions based on risk. Then, you design review processes that match that risk level. After that, you build the technical tools and capabilities your team needs, and then you train them on how to use everything. And, crucially, this is not a set-it-and-forget-it kind of thing. The final step is to constantly monitor and adjust, because your AI systems and the risks they create are always going to be evolving. And just in case you're thinking, oh, this is a problem for later, this slide should really light a fire. The EU AI Act, which requires human oversight for high-risk systems, starts enforcement in 2025. This isn't some far-off issue. The clock to get your house in order is ticking right now.
So we'll end on this question. After everything we've gone over, I want you to take this back to your team and ask, honestly, is the human oversight you have in place a real, functional safety net that's designed to catch failures, or is it just safety theater designed to check a box for the auditors? The answer to that question could really define your organization's future with AI.